So we have the, I might not read this because things are getting a little long here, but we have the baby clothes, and this is, so since many of you have helped organize baby showers, I wanted to let you know that what the baby clothes do is they are a concrete evidence that that community support is there. And it's more than the clothes in the bag. The clothes are beautiful, the layettes are gorgeous, and the diapers and that. I've had women say, I can't believe that someone who didn't know me was willing to go out and buy something so beautiful for my baby. And so it sort of shows them that in a very real and tangible way that there are people who really support their choice. And these women are not getting that affirmation, most likely, in their families and with their friends, many of them. So the community affirmation is very, very powerful. And this is a letter that was a woman wrote to us. And you can see what happens. She says, I don't know where to begin to say thank you for what I have received from your program. Tears flooded my eyes. Over the past few years, my journey strayed me away from my faith and managed to bring me down lower and lower. Well, God's plan was to bless me now. Well, even though I don't feel ready, I believe He didn't give me too much to handle. I have to say, through faith, I was blessed with your program. Every person who donated even one item is an angel. As I dug through the bag, each item amazed me, made me feel for the first time since I found out I was pregnant, like a mother. And that's key. That is very, very key. And in another study I read, it said that women need women giving them, the baby shower sort of thing is very, very important because that's what they need to help themselves to start to feel like a mother. I just now have made up my mind that my son will get christened and that I will start practicing my faith more and attend church and not be afraid to ask for help. And we have seen that. We have seen women come into our program, and because of the goodness that they have found there, have gone back to their church and gone back to a relationship with the Lord. I have a woman who calls me who's had so many problems. And she called me up one day and goes, Mary, I just want to let you know I'm listening to my gospel music. So, you know, now this is, I don't want to spend too much time on this because I have other things to talk about, but this sort of slide shows that you need this sort of total integrated approach. You need so many to run the center. You can't just have an ultrasound and sit down and talk with them. You really have to make good your promise that you are going to be there and they are not alone. And that is probably the most significant thing that we do. Okay, so we did this study with BC School of Nursing, and I don't want to I want to get to the point of it. I probably made too many slides here, but this was a nursing student at BC who was a total gift to our program, and she did this amazing study. And one of the problems is that when I was back doing my nursing degree, there's a lot of research on, you know, maternal-child bonding and adaptation during pregnancy and all this stuff, trying to make everybody like the best mother that they could be. And using pregnancy is a real important time to try to see what problems are there, and let's do an intervention to try to get this woman, whether it's a psychological thing, depression. So when I took this job 8 years ago, I went back to the research thinking there would be all sorts of new research out there, and there wasn't anything. All that research ended in the early 80s. And the reason is that if you can choose abortion up until your 24 weeks of pregnancy, how can you say that you're having a problem adapting to the pregnancy? How can you say that that's a problem, right? It's your choice. So if you can't label it as a problem, you can't do research on it. So it is unbelievably glaring in the research when you think that everyone comes into this world through a mother, right? And there's so little research on women and motherhood and how to help women to do that, and so little research on unintended pregnancies. And there's so much statistics on abortion, you get sick reading them. But when it comes to this topic, there is so little credible research that is done, that is in medical, nursing, social work journals. And it's alarming, really. It is alarming because it shows, because one of the things is that if you are in a high stress situation when you're pregnant, you are at risk for postpartum depression, childhood psychopathology, preterm birth, low birth weight, infant mortality, and increased medical costs. Okay, so that's all our clients. All of our clients have prenatal stress. If they don't have prenatal stress, they don't belong in my office. They don't belong in our program, and so there's many studies on how to prevent the occurrence of unintended pregnancies. Again, more than you could ever read, but there's much less research to inform the care of women who become pregnant unintentionally. And this is the thing, due to the risks and the high rates of unintended pregnancies, 45 to 65% of pregnancies in the U.S., that's the rate. The minimal amount of research is very concerning. And it's all because of the decision for abortion and the fact that nobody wants to really talk about the whole thing. It's all so politicized. So we did this study, and what we wanted to do was we wanted to sort of figure out, there's all sorts of research on why women choose abortion, but there's not a lot of research on why women choose to continue the pregnancy. And I'm not going to get too much into some of this because I know some of you are, but basically what we did, I'm going to go through some of this, is we gave a questionnaire that talked about their decision making. What were the factors in their deciding to continue the pregnancy? And these were the things that were on the questionnaire. And then we also checked them for 7 other. We can say absolutely that we have a high risk population. And so what we found was that we have a very high risk population in our center for women that have premature labor, low birth weight babies, prolonged labor. However, I don't see it. I don't see it. I just don't see it. And if I get another nursing student, that's going to be my next study. But I don't need one because there has been studies that have shown that if you take these women and you give them all the things that we give them, they do not have these problems. And that's a very powerful bit of information, because I don't know if any of you have ever Googled crisis pregnancy centers. I did when I was doing this doing this talk, and I challenge each one of you to go home and Google crisis pregnancy centers when you get home, and you are going to be just amazed at the bad negativity press that's out there about how we keep women from their choice, how we give false information, and Planned Parenthood has a huge page on their website that deals with all the awful things we do to these women. And the thing about it is that communities should be happy the pregnancy resource centers are there. We provide an enormous amount for these women who would not get this sort of service anywhere else. And so we provide a great service to the community. And I think that this is something that is very, very important. And this research is very important to this next thing about where we go now. So, multiplying the hands, as Sisters of Life say, 8 to 1, but we got 350, multiply that by 8, I can't do it right now in my head, but you see how much of an effort it takes to support these women. And so one of the things that we're going to be doing in the fall of 2013 is we're going to have this collaboration with the Sisters of Life to establish a Co-Workers for Life program in the Archdiocese of Boston. Sisters of Life, as you will hear, the next speaker, is, in my opinion, the gold star in terms of what they do in this field. And their co-worker education is just fantastic. So you can't get anybody better than them to help do volunteer training. So we're going to start working with them to train our volunteers. So increased parish-based awareness. A lot of places, a lot of people in the parishes do not know that we exist. How many of you knew that the Archdiocese had a program for women before my talk? So most of you. So well, some of you, a lot of you didn't, right? No. And that sort of baffles us how that happens, you know, what we can do to sort of promote the awareness in the parishes, that the Archdiocese has a response, a practical response to its teachings on this. So this is another thing that is sort of one of my dreams, is to influencing the influencers. So you have doctors who get women, and the doctors aren't all, you know, some of them are very open-minded and they're pro-choice, but they're not like, you know, when a woman comes in often and she's confused or she's conflicted, they send them to Planned Parenthood. So what we need to do is if we need to get the message out to them, look at, there is this fantastic program that would give her all sorts of support. Why don't you send her there? We are nurses. We've done, you know, we can prove, hopefully, you know, we'll get some publications out of that study, what we do. And if a person is conflicted, they're not going to get appropriate counseling at Planned Parenthood. They're going to get an abortion. And that happens a lot. So what we want to do is we want to somehow start reaching out to more doctors and more nurses in the clinical setting. And that's one of the purposes of this study, is to help us to do that. So what we talked about, what Katie was talking about the adverse fetal diagnosis and perinatal hospice, this is an option that is there that a lot of people are not aware of. And Dr. Lucy Baer at Stuart St. Elizabeth Medical Center, we refer to her a lot, and she is amazing. She will do whatever she can to try to support that woman, and also to make it work. You know, so if we had a client who had a brain tumor, and 2 years ago, two years before she came to us, she had an abortion. And so she had serious problems with that, but everybody told her there was no way. They wouldn't even discuss it. You have to have this abortion. You're going to die. So she had the abortion. So then she gets pregnant again, and she just can't do this. She just is like, I can't do this. So she goes to a priest who refers her to us. We send her over to Dr. Baer, and Dr. Baer goes, was that tumor estrogen sensitive? Nobody even asked her that question. Now, so the simple questions to even know whether that would have been dangerous for her had not been asked. So that's what's so important, is that when we have a person who has been told by their physician, you have to have an abortion because of this or that or whatever, we say, look, this is a really important decision. Let's get a second opinion. You get a second opinion if you want dental work even. I mean, let's go get a second opinion. Let's go over to Dr. Baer. And that is one of the things that we want to try to get out there, that is there. So the importance of second opinion with a pro-life doctor who is really willing to ask the hard questions and to try to really figure this out. That's what we have, and we have that. We have that. It's just a matter of letting people know about it.